Thanks for clicking on the first ever podcast that I have yet to name yet. I'm pretty excited with how this one turned out. So if you guys end up liking this video, don't forget to like the video as I have a conversation with the most interesting distance swimmer in distance swimming history, Bobby Finke. And drop a comment if you like any of Bobby Finke's comments. Let him know that you like the words that are coming out of his brain. But buckle up, grab a drink, and enjoy my conversation with the one and only Bobby Finke. First things first, congrats, welcome back. A hell of a meet. I know you probably wish a couple of those medals were a little bit of a different color, but at the same time, dude, 2 American records smashed. Both of your American records, right?
Yeah.
And 14:31 in the mile, like fingertips on that world record. Now that it's not like immediately after 15 minutes of mile racing into an interview.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Like, give me a quick download.
The race was really good. Obviously, with Half an Hour, I was pretty lucky to actually be able to race him a couple times throughout the course of the year. We raced at a couple Tier Pro series. So I kind of knew he had a back end speed as well. So I don't know, with like a 300 left or so, I was like, it's just going to be like a final 50 kind of thing. But yeah, he got his long arms on the wall first. He got those fingertips. I always go back. I saw you retweet like a clip or something of the finish, and I always go back and like just rewatch it a ton. And I'm just seeing like, because my arm was coming in so fast, but he just
trying to figure out how. I had a question written down. I was going to ask if you were a rewatcher. It took me a while to rewatch my videos.
Yeah.
And I used to rewatch every single one of my swims and kind of do the same thing. And I'm like, dude, if I had just taken like a 3/4 stroke right there, or like kicked a little harder right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, so have you had a chance to look at the splits from that mile yet?
So I actually just recently watched the whole race like a couple days ago, and I was like, because I didn't want to, because like I lost, but like the time was great. Lost, so it burns a little bit, but so I was kind of like trying to avoid watching the race, but I went a time where I felt was worthy of like for me to be like happy with it, even though I got second. So I rewatched it, and I think I was just like smiling the whole time, just because it was funny just how it panned out, like 0.05 in a mile, and Half an Hour is just next to me, and like we're at the end and we're laughing with each other. Yeah, I rewatched it. I saw all the splits, and we're just even throughout the whole way. I think at most I got like half a body length on him in the beginning of the race, and then he quickly came up and we were just like trading 50s. And this splits are pretty well. I wish the last 50 was faster, 26.
I think you're one of the only people that can say that on the planet. I was going to bring up the splits because I think the max gap between y'all was like 0.6 on every single 50 split.
Yeah, I think, and that was just like in the beginning of the race too. Like towards the end, we were just same time every time. And Sam held on pretty well. I didn't think Sam was going to be the one to go out fast. I thought it was going to be Daniel and Lucas, but Daniel ended up going out pretty quick at the end, or in the beginning, but he kind of died, and then he came back again, but then he died again. I think that kind of just shows that he put everything he had into that race.
He was interesting to watch in that race, because I think Rowdy was even commentating it, and he was like, Whiffin's like coming back into it. And because I kind of thought the same thing. I thought like, if you start to drop back,
I was like, here we go.
y'all's pace was so intense that I was like, if you get kind of like left behind, it's going to be really hard to start chipping away. I mean, when you're going 14:31, good luck chipping away at that pace, right? So I mean, the race, ended up being what it was. I think it was, you said that you were smiling watching it. I think everyone was smiling watching it. Distance swimming on the men's side right now. Katie's kind of doing her own thing on the women's side. I think you might know her pretty well. On the men's side, it is so intense right now. You've done a run up, kind of like media and all of that, up until the Olympics. But this time around, for me, it felt a little bit different. So I kind of want to see like your perspective with how deep and how intense men's distance swimming is right now. Did it feel different kind of in the run up, like media pressure, any of that?
I'll start back at the Olympics, because I wasn't really supposed to win or medal or anything like that. So distance was kind of locked up between like the 3 guys. It was Greg, Florian, and Romanchuk. Like those 3 guys are supposed to just win all the medals for years coming and stuff. But I was fortunate enough to get my name in the mix for next year. And then Lucas Martins came in, and then this past Worlds, all of a sudden there was like it felt like 50 new guys just joined the mix. We had people who were top ranked in the world. Florian, who did really well in open water, but wasn't quite able to match it up in the pool. But people got left behind that you didn't think were going to get left behind. Romanchuk was ahead of me in world rankings until this past Worlds. And I think he got 7th in the final. But yeah, like the depth we have and distance swimming is it's gotten quite insane. I didn't think I'd ever be able to see a 14:31 get second on the scoreboard or anything like that. Just like the depth and racing those guys, I think it's really positive outlook for the future in distance swimming. For one, we can make it exciting, more exciting, so we don't get commercials during TV or anything like that. And two, it's just we're finally able to like attack those world records. I know 14:31's kind of always been knocked at the door by Greg for the past couple of years. But it might sound crazy saying this, but like 7:32. I mean, half an hour I just went 7:37. It was his first time under. I think his best time before was like 45 or something like that. So not necessarily like he could get it, but like I'm not going to say no that he can't get it. I have full faith in him. But like if he's not going to get it,
big statement.
Yeah, if like Short's not going to get it, I think like the potential is like actually starting to show itself to at least knock on that door to get under 7:35 mark.
Yeah, that's a big door. Speaking of that 14:31. Mm-hmm. When you go into like a world championships coming off of US trials, are you going into it with a gold time in mind? Are you going into it with a gold medal in mind? Or are you just kind of going into it like, I'm going to try to be in the spot that I want to be in with 50 meters left to go in the race and then just kind of do what I do?
Because my goal at trials is different. It's always to just try and make the team. The time is always like a bonus, but like the overall end goal is to make the team. And I think that it never works out for me in my mile at trials. I think both years my miles have been pretty bad comparative to like what I was able to go at the end of the year. My 800s have always been pretty decent at trials, at least these past 2 trials. But I always go into Worlds or when I went into the Olympics, the goal was always to like try and win. The time didn't really mean anything to me. If the time was good, great, but like the whole goal for me is just to do my best and win. I don't know, that 14:31 is a little too sweet for me to like do it, but like it still stings. But yeah, I'm just trying to win, But yeah, I just want to win.
Yeah, it's got to be so interesting. I mean, when I watched the end of that race, I kind of like immediately tried to put myself in your shoes because it was such an interesting position to be in, where I was like, I mean, when you look up at the board and you see 14:31 and you're like, I just did that. And then you're processing, that just got second. And you're like, what is going on? And then half an hour he's over there like, wow, dude, we almost just both took out a very highly regarded world record. It's like probably one of the faster world records. And, you know, in the lead up to the mile, I was like, I really think there could be 4 guys. And I still think there are like 4 or 5 guys that could go under that 14:31. Luckily, that take was one that stuck around, so I appreciate that. Hey there, it's Kyle from after the podcast finished up. I wanted to do something a little bit different for this one, and if you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and hit that like button. But as you like this video, let me tell you about something that I did. I wanted to kind of spice it up, so I decided to enlist the help of Bobby Finke's sister, Summer, and grab a little bit of information about Bobby that not a lot of people would know. So a couple times throughout this video, once here and then once a little bit further into the future, I kind of surprised Bobby with a little bit of information that maybe not everybody knows. So enjoy Bobby Finke getting a little bit caught off guard. So like leading into a big meet or like going into like a big meets finals, do you have any like pre-race nutrition stuff that you do? Like I remember one of my best meets that I ever had, like going into, it was actually a prelim swim. It might sound a little bit weird, but I actually hammered a Caesar salad for breakfast.
I don't know if my sister told you that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So before my first Olympic trials, before I got my first Olympic trial cut in 2015, it was a Grand Prix meet in Orlando. I had a Caesar salad for breakfast. It was a leftover Caesar salad I had from like Outback for dinner the previous night. yeah. I ended up getting my trials cut later that day, so I'm a little superstitious about Caesar salad. So I always try to have some salad. It might not be Caesar, but I don't have it for breakfast. But like I'll eat it like sometime during the day before.
Gotcha. So we're moving it back in the day.
Yeah.
I actually had no idea. I mean, I love Caesar salads for breakfast. They're just hard to find because normally it's all breakfast foods.
I have a couple more superstitious foods for some because like I'll eat them and then I do really well. So in 2018 at Pan Pacs, I watched Zane Grothy go 14:48 in the prelims, and before that, the night before, I watched him eat like what seemed like 13 oranges. So
that is far too many oranges. I don't know what the threshold is for too many oranges, but 13 is well beyond it.
So he swam the mile that prelims at Pan Pacs, and I was swimming it later that day. So I was at lunch and I saw the results, and I saw him go 14:48. So I immediately just go over to the buffet station and grab as many oranges as I can, and I start eating them. And then later on, I ended up going 14:48, and I dropped 7 seconds. So now before meets, I'm eating constant oranges throughout the entire meet.
So just oranges in a Caesar salad, and you're all set.
Yeah. That's, I don't know. It's been working.
No water. No, we don't need anything else. Not really any carb loading. I guess there's greens in a Caesar salad.
Just make sure.
That's interesting. It's interesting that we have that weird thing in common. But I mean, you've got a pretty stout training group in Florida, to say the very, very least. Training with Ledecky, Leendo, Dressel, all those big names out there. What is one of the craziest things that you've seen anyone in the group throw down in a workout?
Oh, it's got to be Katie.
I had a feeling.
She does it so often too. That's the thing. So we were just doing 800s in practice. We were doing like 6 800s, and it was a morning, and it was our outdoor pool. Our outdoor pool has like 5 lanes, so we're like splitting it up a bit. But Katie will like go with the guys because she can make those intervals easily. Not supposed to, but there she is. She was going second in the lane. Me and Alfonso Mestre were going first in each of the lanes, and mind you, we were going pretty well for us. We're not like the fastest practice swimmers ever, but for us, we were doing pretty well. I think Alfonso went like 8:27 or something, which for after like 5 800s in power, it's pretty good.
It's not bad.
And then here's Katie right behind us running Alfonso down, and she goes like 8:22 or whatever in a practice 800, and we just don't even know what to think at that point.
Jeez.
There was another time last year we were doing threshold 150s, like a ton of them, and she's just casually holding 130 long course. No one else in the group was able to get close to that. We were all dying. It was like 6 a.m. and we're all just dying and drowning in the pool, and Katie's just running us over and going 130s and 150s. But
I mean, that was kind of my jam, was like threshold freestyle back in the day. And I think best I ever was like long course hundreds was like 103s.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a different beast. And I mean, you can kind of tell by the way she swims, she just loves to get after it. And so it makes sense that she's kind of a dog in practice.
Mm-hmm. Every Friday afternoon we'll do a set of it's only 6,000 meters, but we'll like add it up to 6,000. So it'll either be 3 2000s freestyle, or it'll be a 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, or it'll be 4 miles, or some kind of variation like that. And there's no warm up or anything like that. But immediately she dives in, she's holding 105s long course. She dives in immediate. She's at the 200 at like 207 or whatever, and then she's just cranking the 105s, and she's going.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's supposed to be
descent.
You're supposed to descend from that.
She's like, nah.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna swim 6,000 fast because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a special individual to in 2023 go ahead and say, I want to go to 2028.
Yeah.
And I mean, have been that dominant too. I mean, she hasn't really had anyone with her in the mile, and it's just like you have to kind of be that beast in training that just is willing to dive in and just hold double O's and compete against yourself to be able to just go out there and do that.
Yeah.
All right. Enough with Katie, though. I know that, I mean, I remember, I think actually I used to be like a mid distance to distance freestyler, and I had like a short course meter 800 that I did in like a 3-foot deep pool. And it was like, I think in the 18s, like, so like 8, 19 around there when I was in high school. And then I had ADHD, so I couldn't do distance. So I decided to do IM. Otherwise, I would have probably been like 14:33 in the mile.
Yeah.
So what's one of the crazier things that you've done in practice?
So my practices have gone pretty funny. So I started out college like doing pretty well. I go upwards, and then I think junior year I was at like a peak of like how fast I would go in practice, and then all of a sudden like after that I'm like downhill, but I'm still getting better in training and everything. I'm doing better at meets, but I'm just like hurting a lot more. So this past year I've had some rough practices. But I think the best, I haven't really had like insane practices. I've just had like really good weeks at times. And I think junior year during COVID, I was under 9 minutes in practice for 1,000, like multiple times throughout the year. My first time I did it, it was at the end of 9 1,000s. I started out, so it was a 10,000 yard practice, and the warm up was 10 100 IMs, and we just went right into the set. You're supposed to descend all 9 of them, and the interval was getting 30 seconds faster every 3. So the last 3 were on like 10 minutes. But I think I started at like 940, and then I was descending from there. And the last 3 were like 920 something, and then like 916. And then before the last one, I get to walk because Kieran was doing the set too, which you don't really see because he's like a mid distance swimmer, but he just wanted to do the set. And he gets to the wall and he was like, dude, you have to go for it. You have to go under 9 on this one. I'm like, I don't think you realize how hard that is, or like how so fast that is. After like the first 250, I saw that I was out like under pace, like pace is 215 or whatever. And I flipped at 212 and I was like, all right, here we go. I got the pace. I got to try and keep it going. But it was pretty cool after that because our whole team was obviously done with their practice. They're going to finish before a 10K practice.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So the whole team was just like on the pool deck cheering for us, like to finish there in the last 1,000. And our coach, Nesty, was sitting in a lifeguard stand because at the time he was he was getting like something replaced in his knee, so he couldn't like stand or walk or anything. He had to sit down, but he's just standing on the side of the pool in the lifeguard stand, just like waving. I don't want to say he was waving because he had a cane. I don't want to say he was like waving his cane. I'll be embarrassing him. But I every time I picture, he wasn't waving it, but like I like the picture he was waving his cane like going by. But
hey, whatever gets you through that 9th 1,000.
Yeah. Just a little chuckle in your head.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that you like notice where you were at halfway through, or at like a 250 split, because I was the same way. And that 800 that I did, which I remember vividly, I checked at the 400, and a goal of mine was always to go under 820. It was to go under 405 and a 400 and go under 820. And I checked at the 400 and had just gone out like really hard. And I mean, when you're young, I don't know if you remember, like when you're like 16, 17, you just have these weird moments where like you'll hear, so the set was like 2 4 8 8 4 2, I think. And it was like just go on the way up and then hammer the last 3. On that like first 800, I was like 835 and hit the wall and was like, I am not tired. I have no idea what's going on. So I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna send it. And so just sprinted, checked the 400, and I was like, this is when it's gonna happen. And my coach was actually like not prepared for me to finish, and I just stopped and like looked over at him, and he was like, you have another 50. And I was like, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
No, I don't. I just did that. But also don't think about putting me in the 800 or anything over a 400. Now that I did that, that was just for fun. That was for show. I mean, speaking of like long workouts, distance swimmer, everyone loves to hear kind of like the craziest workout that people have done. The craziest one that I ever did I'll give you some time to think about it, is it was kind of a similar situation. I think it was the second year that I had Bob as a coach. We did a 2, 4, 6, 8,000 or something like that long course. Maybe it was, I don't know if there was like 6 and 8 in there, but it was 2, 4, 6,000 and then back down. And you were supposed to do the same thing that I actually did on that ladder, that distance freestyle ladder in high school, where you go faster on the way down. And it was free IM. So it wasn't 1,000 or freestyle. It was free instead of butterfly, and then back breast free. And I could not do butterfly, but I like the rest of it. I was ready to party, especially in practice. I was a practice swimmer, and I remember hearing Bob like running down the side of the pool, like whistling and just following me on breaststroke. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going 328 and a 400 IM before Leon. But yeah, what's one of the craziest workouts, like just in terms of like shock value, that you've ever done?
Yeah. So the most yardage I've ever done in a single practice was actually with my club team. We would, like, every Wednesdays we'd come in and swim for 3 hours instead of 2. I think we got to 12 and a half or 12.5 thousand. But my friend and I was doing it with my friend. His name's actually Will Smith. It's not the actor, but like he's actually Will Smith. But we were like, we're only 500 away from like 13,000. So like we ended up going up to 13,000. And other than like all the stories of Eric Vent, I believe, doing like 31,000s and all that kind of crazy stuff, I think that's the most, at least I've heard of doing. That's definitely the most I've done. I don't necessarily remember what the practice held, but I think it was pretty much everything. Like there's power, there's pole, there's IM, there's freestyle. Like it was everything from a total week just mushed into one practice. And we got it done we got it done fast. We were well under 3 hours, I want to say. But yeah.
I mean, it's even harder when you don't do just aerobic. 13,000 when you're doing power and you're kind of exhausting everything that your body's got. I mean, I did the 100s. I think I've done it twice. I did it once for YouTube so I could get some clicks, and then once for when I was actually training. And like, dude, it's just so mentally draining. But yeah, 13,000. I mean, I don't think I could have gone another 100 when I finished the 100s, and it's also just kind of boring, so my brain was hurting. But yeah, I mean, you've got a nasty training group out there at Florida. So remember earlier when I told you I had a little bit of information that Bobby might not know that I had? Well, guess what? Another one's coming up. And right before that happens, hit that like button if you made it this far in the video. Come on. Why not? You're enjoying the video if you're this far in, or if you hate it enough. I think that's just a different form of enjoyment. So hit the like button regardless. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. A gator kind of reminds me of like a dragon. In a weird way, which kind of like takes me back to when I was a kid. You ever watch Dragon Tales?
That was my show growing up. Dragon Tales was my show. Yeah, I love Dragon Tales. I would actually talk about it in a weight room because I was born in 1999. So I love claiming I'm a 90s kid, even though I was born like 2 months before.
You're in the club.
Yeah, exactly. So I always like say, like, because Dragon Tales, it was kind of like a 90s. It was like early 2000, but other people in the 90s in the weight room said they watch it. So I'm like, I'm with you guys. I watch it. But yeah, I loved Dragon Tales growing up.
Did that inspire the Florida Gators commitment?
It might have.
Conspiracy theory?
Very much might have. Yeah. Someone actually like pulled up like the intro, or like, cause they sing like a song on a scale, right? To get to their Dragon Land or wherever it's called. But they're like,
to be honest, I have absolutely no idea.
It's so long ago. It's like ages ago. But yeah, I just remember they were always holding a scale and they were singing to it to go off to their land or whatever. But yeah, that was like my favorite show growing up when I was really little.
That's wild. I feel like I already knew that. So, I mean, like pre-race routine for Bobby Finke is just like envisioning the last 50 rip, eating a Caesar salad and watching Dragon Tales.
Yeah,
the sound of it.
I'll pull up Dragon Tales behind the blocks. I'll just start watching it on the screen. I'll start showing it to the screen, to the cameras and everything.
I dare you before like a pro series meet next year to just be sitting behind the blocks on your phone watching Dragon Tales. Or before a taper meet, so then you can, in your post-race interview, blame Dragon Tales for going 14:30 in the mile.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of that last 50, what do you think? I mean, what's your fastest last 50 coming home? You went sub 26, right? 25 something?
Yeah. So in Tokyo in the mile, I was 25.7. And then last year in the 800, I was 25.9. But those were the only two times I was sub 26.
So suited up in practice fresh. We'll say it's like right after you've done your 10 100 IMs warm up and Katie's held 55 on all of them because she just does that.
Katie's like on
in
my
a
tail
suit
right now on this 52.
Yeah, exactly. Like suited up from a push, more fresh than at the end of an 800 or a mile. Are you going like 24.8 or are you going 25.5?
I could be anywhere from maybe 24 to 27. So we'll see. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like it was kind of weird because I like to say I'd be 24, but I think the fastest push in practice I ever done for me is like years ago because I don't really do them anymore. The fastest push in practice, maybe 25 low, something like that. Yeah, 25. I'd hope to be 24 with a suit on, especially. Might just be
Yes, I mean
myself right now, but yeah.
It's more of like a killer instinct type thing. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, I mean, I would say you're probably the most interesting distance swimmer that I've ever seen swim just because I think I might have mentioned it in a video a while back, but it's kind of like seeing, that track style like race where people kind of like sit and then they kick. Is this something that kind of developed throughout your career? Or were you just like dunking on 12-year-olds at the state meet in the last 50 of a mile?
So I really only had like a finish in the 4 IMs. It never really came together short course wise, at least in miles, or it showed up at NCs in the 500 my last year, but I didn't really have a great NCs or 500. I still added like a second and so from like a time like 2 years ago. It didn't really like fully show itself until Tokyo. And I'm very glad it showed itself. But yeah, it's not like something I actually like specifically trained for to do. I mean, I a lot of the times, especially this past year, I go into practice kind of sending it a lot. Like I'm the guy who's always dying a ton, like embarrassingly a ton. Like you watch it and you're like, there's no way this guy's even like on a D1 college. Like, how is he even swimming in college? Yeah, no, it's definitely something that's kind of just showed up. I only had it in 4 IMs. It didn't really show itself for freestyle until a couple of years ago. And now that I know that I have it, I feel like I can do it whenever I want almost. It's a little harder in season because I'm more dead and everything. But yeah.
It's like you unlocked something. It's like a cheat code that you unlocked in GTA or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, so talking about like strategy and stuff like that, I think one thing that gets slept on a little bit by people that haven't swum distance or like really watched distance is that it's really, I think, one of the only areas in swimming outside of like open water where you actually get like you get time to think. And you also get time to look around and be like, where am I at? What's going on? In your head, like going into the race, during the race, do you go into it with like a specific set strategy? I'm assuming you do. And do you ever like make edits, like live edits to the strategy based on how you're feeling, based on where people are at? Like with Sam going out so fast in the mile and Ahmed just trying to basically tie you on every single flip turn. Like what's going through your head before the race, during the race? Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I actually approach this race way differently than I normally do. Because after the 800, I think I stressed myself out way too much just from a buildup of this entire year. And I think that's probably why it didn't go the way I wanted to, because I put so much pressure on myself to perform in that race. And when I ultimately didn't do as well as I wanted to, I was just kind of distressed. And I actually like watched a YouTube video like the next day of just like, I don't know how it came on my page, but it was just some people like underperform because not that they're trying too much, but they put so much pressure on themselves to perform that when it actually like comes time to perform, they think they're doing everything right, but they just overdo it. So I went into the mile actually kind of just, you know what, I was telling myself that I don't care about this race. I don't care how I do. I'm looking forward to when it's done. I just don't care about this race. But deep down, like I know that I care, but I'm just like convincing myself that I don't care. I was behind the blocks, not really nervous at all. There's like a little bit of nerves, but like not too much at all. But I was like calm, and I think that's probably why I was able to do so well. That and I had some great people to race. But yeah, I didn't really have a set strategy. I knew what I wanted to do going into the race, but I didn't have like my strategy was pretty loose. I did see Sam go out, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to make sure he doesn't get too far away. So I picked it up a teeny bit. And then half an hour he came next to me, and I saw that we were catching Sam, and I was like, okay, I don't think I have to worry about Sam since we've been gaining on him for the past 300 meters or so. My main focus right now is Hafnawi and potentially even Daniel, who was catching us at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, at that point, it kind of switched to just stay with Hafnawi and just race him, and most likely it'll come down to the finish.
What did if you remember, if you had anything in your brain, what did you think you went when you hit the wall before you turned around and looked up at the clock?
So there's like two halves of me at that point. One of it was like I think we just broke the record. I thought we were like 14:30 or even 14:29 at a point, but then like another part of me was like, no, you're like 14:34 right now. Don't get too ahead of yourself. But so I looked up and I was still shocked because I think I was more so leaning onto the 14:34 side just because kind of how everybody else in the race was doing. Because Daniel fell back, Lucas fell back, Romanchek fell back. I was like, okay, I don't know if we're going too fast or so, but like part of me just really wanted to see 14:29. I was very shocked to see a 14:31 on the board.
Yeah, I mean it's a low number.
Yeah.
I think you're third in history, right? It's Sun
Yeah.
Yang, Hafnawi, and then you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean 14:31.
Yeah.
It was so interesting watching that race because everyone knows about Sun Yang's closing 100 and especially his last 50, and everyone is talking about how like Sun Yang closed fast, he closed fast, and it's like, you know what? It's kind of what Bobby does too. So if he's in that realm, like it could happen. And I do honestly, I give Greg kind of some of the credit for making that record look attainable. Because last year,
he was under 2020 by a lot.
Yeah, 2022, he was in lane 1, I think, or lane 8, and just stepped on it.
I think he was, it was one of those 2 in lanes. But yeah, he just went at it from the beginning, and I think at one point he was, I don't want to say he was 5 seconds under, but he was like 4 high under the record, I think, at a point. And then like all of a sudden,
well
the last 100, it made up like 2 seconds. It made up like a second on the 50 before, and then it just blew by him by like 4 seconds because what Greg is really good at doing is just holding an insanely fast pace the whole time. He doesn't have the typical closing speed as Florian does or Hafnawi does, but he's so good and so fast at just holding like an insane pace. I think if he was in that race with us and going that 14:32, I would not be surprised if all 3 of us would have been under the record. Just because he would have been out, he would have been way ahead of us, and at least I felt, and I know Hafnawi felt, I was like, we can go faster. We were like talking after the race like normally, like we weren't like too out of breath or anything. So like, I think if Greg was like there next to us going like 14:32, I think that record would be the 4th fastest time in history by now.
Ooh, that was a cool sentence.
Yeah. It would. Yeah, I don't think that record would be there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it feels like, honestly, it felt going into World Championships that it's, days were numbered. It definitely feels that way now. I mean, you guys were right on top of it. And I mean, like a lot of people were talking about leading into it, it ended up coming down to you and Hafnawi. That race, could be like 6 or 7 guys. And I do want to go back to a point that you made about being behind the blocks, after, your 800 and kind of, rewiring yourself and being like, listen, just settle down, this race doesn't matter, even though you do internally know that it matters.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about prelims.
Yeah.
So this prelims in the 800 and the mile,
yeah,
like I've never felt like I cannot wait to watch prelims in the 800
yeah.
at like, what was it, like 10 p.m. here,
Mm-hmm.
or prelims in the mile. Going into these prelim sessions, I know that like at World Championships, it's obviously always competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Were these prelim sessions and your mentality going into it a little bit different going into this one, just knowing that you had like 9-10 guys that could be in like the 1440 range and like in the low 740s? I mean, I forget what it took to make the final in the 800, but it was like
it was
744, something like that. Was your mentality any different going into it?
So at that, because we were watching, I was lucky to be in the last heat with Daniel, Romanchuk, and Greg, and we were like the 4 from the last heat that made it. We were all 43s and 44s, I believe. But we were just watching the previous heat before us, and we watched Sam go out fast, and Hafnali was like catching him a bit, and they went like 740, 741. And then it was just a slew of guys between 742 to 745. And we were like, this is not good. Like this is some bad news. So I kind of just went into that race, that prelims heat. It was like, I just need to win my heat, which I got second, but it was like close enough to, I was like comfortable with it, but it was so tight with that prelims. Because Florian got left out with a 45.8, which
is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the previous World Championships, like a 48 made it. And I think the Olympics was a 47 high or 48 as well made it in. But now 745 is not cutting it. And I'm not going to be surprised if 743 doesn't cut it next year with the way things are going. And going into the mile, both Daniel and I were like, pretty confident that 1450 would make it, but also it was kind of like in that area of like we didn't really want to be on an outside lane or anything like that. So I was like the fastest prelim swims I've ever done. 1443 for me is really good for prelims because I hate swimming in the morning. So yeah, we kind of pushed it, but we were in the first heat, so it's kind of unfortunate because we went like much faster than what we nedeed to go. 1443 and 1453 made it or something like that. So we could have gone a bit slower, but it was just like, just try and make it back at this point. It's so deep right now. It's just, I just got to try and make it back.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a different beast. And I mean, with swimming across the board, it's kind of like, I mean, it felt almost a little bit NCAA-esque with like how many people were like 15th and 16th because everything is so deep. Yeah. I mean, we saw people missing A finals. We saw people missing B finals. And I mean, the mile, like, and luckily you got a full day break, right?
Yeah.
Between prelims and finals.
Yeah, we swam prelims the one day and then swam finals the following day. So like it'd be like a prelims for a 2 free. We just skip semis and go right to the finals the next day.
Right. Makes sense. I think having semis for the mile and the 800 would be a little bit much.
Yeah, it might be a little hard. Who knows?
Sometimes I still feel like having semifinals for the 200 fly is a little bit mean. Yeah. And it's so interesting. I brought that question up. I brought it up to like, I think Josh Pernot and like a couple other guys. And the answers have been so split. Yeah. So split. I brought it up to like Carson Foster and a bunch of guys that like swim those semifinals because I was like, I want to know what like you guys feel. And it's literally, I think like 50-50. Some people are like, yeah, give people more opportunities to like mess up and miss the final. And other people are like, no, you know what? I think we need to like expand the program, like give people more time. So it's really interesting. Consider yourself lucky to be doing the 800 and the 1500 only 2 times.
Yeah,
you know
only
what I mean?
2 times. Not once, not time finals, not 3 times. You know? I would like to do a semis once though, but like I'm not. I think the closest I could get to a semis is a 2 back or 2 fly. Definitely not 2 free. I'm never going to be on that 4x2 relay. I think people need to realize that I don't have those genes to do a 4x2 relay. But
do you get a lot of people saying that you should try to be on the 4x2?
after Tokyo, they were like, if I could come home 25-7 or whatever, they were like, why can't he hold that for a 200? I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, come on, it's so easy.
Yeah, like there's no way in history am I gonna go under like I give my best like a 148. That's I feel like I'm being generous with that too. Like my best time is 151. So
I don't know. I think you could probably be like 143. If you can come back in 25.7, why can't you just hold 25.7
it's that
four
easy.
times?
Yeah.
What is that? 142.4, something 142.8, something like that?
Still not even the world record.
That's an insane swim. So I mean, going into the topic of insane swims, we'll just wrap up with kind of like you getting to be a spectator from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, I think, well covered, and like the meet felt really different. This World Championships felt different from a publicity perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And, I looked back at all the times, and it was definitely fast.
Mm-hmm.
But, SwimSwam actually did an article where they were like, most world records broken at a World Championships or an international meet or a single meet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was even surprised that the World Championships was like, I think in like the 30s or 40s on the list, because we had 10 broken. And I was like, this meet felt so fast. And I know it's because we're getting faster and world records are getting a little bit more difficult to break. But out of all the swims that you saw outside of your mile, I think honestly the 1500, if I had to pick a race that was like the best race I watched, it would have been that mile. And I apologize because I know that you wish that it had gone a different way. Yeah. But what race as a spectator was your favorite race to watch?
To watch? I might still be with the distance swim because it still might be the for free. Just because two guys like Hafnaoui and Short that, no one really like Hafnaoui. The question I kind of knew it was there because I was racing him throughout the whole year, but like from like a whole standpoint of people who haven't been seeing him race this past year, and he took the year off. The previous year he was transferring over to IU, so, and he took Worlds off. He wasn't there, but it was kind of cool and spectacular to see him be able to defend that Olympic medal and go 3 seconds faster than what he did at the Olympics. It kind of proved to everybody that like he wasn't just like a one-time deal. It was like, nah, he's here and he's got potential for those world records. And the same thing with not really like the same thing with Sam, but like for him to be able to like back up that crazy trials he had and even go way faster than what he did. I mean, he went 340. He was 342 at trials, I want to say. So he improved there already an insane swim. And then his 800, he broke Hackett's and Thorpe's record. Or just Thorpe's? No, I think it was Hackett's record. Yeah, he broke Hackett's record. Yeah. And then in the mile, he told me his coach, like, because he had nothing to lose in that mile, he was just like, he's kind of like there for fun, I guess. But
it's a good spot to be in.
Yeah. Afterwards, he told me like his coach told him to just send it, just have fun and just send it. And he dropped like another 8 seconds. So I think that for free was probably my favorite race, just because like this kind of the storylines that were within that heat. And of course there's Lucas Martin's 341. 341 was, I think it's 341 or 342. But
yeah, one of those, and
get third somehow.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, and I mean it's funny you bring up that race, and especially Hafnaoui. I think that year off made a lot of people kind of like forget about him. Yeah, and in the lead up to it, and I kind of fell victim to this as well. People just didn't really like bring his name up a ton. And same with Sam. I mean, even though Sam's going 342, it's just like Lucas and Florian have been just like pouring it on and pouring it on. And it was. I think that was one of the things that was so interesting about those races too, especially after the 400 when Sam was
after
like
the 400, everything changed with distance.
Yeah,
like those two guys just changed everything, because I think I was like. At least like on Storm, I was like projected to win the 800, but like as soon as they touched that wall on that 400, it was no longer the case. It was like, forget about me, like put these two guys in. And then after the 800, the mile, it was kind of like, well, I think those guys are looking good again, so forget about me, put those guys in. But yeah,
that's great.
those guys and Daniel's also at trials, just like they changed distance swimming. Like as soon as they hit that water, like distance swimming changed. It just got so deep and so fast, really quick.
Yeah, really quick to say the least.
Yeah.
So I mean, on the topic of swam, you know, media in swimming, I think is still kind of coming into its own.
Yeah.
And I think really like your like 1999, that like generation where we're at right now is like, I would say the first generation, like outside of like a Phelps where you get a ton of NBC and ESPN coverage because you're trying to win 8 gold medals. It's I feel like we're in a spot now where media is starting to become like a real thing and something that like athletes have to start to figure out how to adapt to and like understand and figure out how to use. In terms of like your own consumption of predictions and stuff, I was surprised that you were looking at SwimSwam's articles, and I go through
the comments,
see like favorite some stuff.
It's so funny to me. There's this one commenter that like every time I saw it, I just loved it. I think their name was Weinstein. It was like the girls 4x2 relay. It was like Weinstein.
All the hyphens.
Yeah. And they would always be trashing on me. Like every prediction site, they were always trashing on me. I'm like, thanks, man.
I mean, that's a great perspective to have on it because I mean, you can let it consume you, or you can just look at it and be like, this is hilarious. One of my favorite things to say to anyone when, you know, people are like, oh, I don't know, like this person, that person, people are expecting this. I'm like, dude, when you're 85 years old,
is it gonna matter?
No one is going to care. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's great to see that you have that outlook because I mean, I think media is starting to get like a lot more interesting in swimming. And I mean, especially it's like why I brought up that first question at the beginning of our conversation with like leading up to this World Championships. It felt like this mile and the 800 were like the races to watch, which like normally like you were talking about, you're like, people are going to run a commercial during my race. And luckily we're starting to at least see the side by side. And this time we got the whole race, which if they had gone away from that race, I would have been so upset. But yeah, no, it's great to hear that you have that perspective on it and that it's like something that you can sit there and laugh at. I think that's great.
I love the comment.
That's awesome. Hopefully we get some good comments on this one. Go nuts in the comment section on I don't know, telling Bobby that he's never gonna amount to anything. And
I love him. I need more trash talk down. I hope is like I guess like pretty controversial, like what's going on now with Kate Campbell or whatever. I think that's a good thing though. Like it sparked something for the countries and media. I think that's like there needs to be more of that, just because you know it brought a lot of publicity all of a sudden to us again. Like Worlds ended and like publicity like died pretty much a little bit, but all of a sudden it just came skyrocketing back with Kate, and she seemed like she was joking in it to me. Like it was just funny to her. Like I think we need more of that because like when we look at like the big sports like football or even like NBA, the whole thing between Kobe Bryant and Shaq, like they're the same teammates, but they're trash talking each other a ton, and that kind of like love hate, like brotherly love relationship they had. I think like because that's what gets headlines and stuff is like a lot of trash talking, and as long as it's like healthy, I guess, you know, like no one take it too far, no one be like actually just like rude and
just a terrible person.
Just like no reason for that. But it's I loved all the comments coming after that too. It's just like we're gonna bring in a giant cowbell now and just start swinging it
for now.
But
I mean I'm on board with it, and obviously like I'm biased because I saw the numbers on you know those videos and the comments that were being made, and I was like you know, this is a very, very small thing. You know, she went in on us, and you know, there definitely is a little bit of like a humor barrier between like Aussie humor and you know stateside humor because like Aussies are just a little bit more intense, and they also I just think have a lot thicker skin. Exactly. And so there was probably a little bit of like lost in translation, but I also feel like it was like she meant what she said. Which I also think is totally fine.
How do we get like?
Yeah, so that's what Josh said when I texted him about it. Yeah, he was like, I mean, we can be pretty annoying over there. And I'm like, yeah. And that's the thing that I really liked about it. And I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad that you're on the side of like allowing people to talk. Is like, all we're doing is really talking. No one's done anything all that crazy. All we had is like a little bit of friendly banter. And then I actually just made a video about Kaylee, how she came out, Kaylee McEwen, and said, I'm out of this one. And I think that's like a great way to be able to be like, listen, people are talking a little bit of shit about me. People think that like, you know, I'm a part of this, but like, look, I'm going to put my perspective out there. I'm going to do this. And I think it's like kind of a lesson that we're learning in. There is a healthy way to do it, and we're figuring out how to do that. I don't think we need a Conor McGregor or like a Nate Diaz style. Like, I think one thing that Conor has said is like, I'm going to bounce your head off the canvas. Like, we don't need that. If that happens, I'm probably going to make a video about it. But at the same time, like, I think it's not even a banter or like a trash talking thing. It's more of like just say what you're feeling. And you know what? Some people aren't going to like that. Some people are. You know, I've learned that with the videos that I've been making. And, you know, Twitter is a nightmare of a place to be. So it's difficult to overcome the, you know, people can talk a lot of shit about your performances and how you swim. But when you say something and people disagree with like the words you're saying, it's like a different kind of like, oh man, like people don't like my brain. That's weird. But yeah, no, I mean, I love it.
We got like a tiny taste of it, like with Leclos and Phelps back in like 2015. But after that, it kind of like went absent a bit, and then until Lily and Efimova had very tiny thing in 2016. But then after that, it kind of went a bit dry. I think I might be missing something, but yeah, no.
I mean, Sun Yang, that sort of thing with Matt Horton,
so there's always something going on, but I think Kate's was pretty good. We need it more often. We can't just have like once every other couple of years or so, you know.
And that's the tough thing with swimming, like in general, is we do the big gaps, right? You know, we do the here we go, and then it kind of fades away. But you know, with the rise of like consistent media and hopefully, you know, I think we're seeing a lot more events pop up and a little bit more depth, and like you know, it's just a snowball effect. All it takes is one thing, and then we get another thing and another thing and another thing. And I mean, I've brought this story up before, but I won't name him, even though I think I did in like another podcast or something. I think he was 13 at the time, and this is probably going to give it away. I had a 13-year-old DM me and like basically say, yo, watch my race today. And I was like, dude, imagining myself calling my shot like that. He ended up breaking a national age group record by, and if you know anything about swimming, you know exactly who I'm talking about, by like 3 seconds. And I was like, this kid's going to be a problem in the NCAA if he's DMing me calling his shot. And I mean, like, it's just even something like that. You know, you don't even have to trash talk other people. You can be like, you know, imagine if Leon was like, I'm going to go under 330 in the 400 IM. It's like, I mean, come on. Like, are you kidding me? And then he goes 328 and he can be like, told you. But yeah, I agree. Consistency.
It's hard to, because like when you do that, you like put it yourself in as well. Like if you don't do it, then you're just embarrassing yourself. And I think that's what like, I mean, like we mentioned, like UFC is like good at, I guess, like for their sport. They're always trash talking, but even if they lose, like they just go back out and do it again.
Ramp it right back up. I mean, it's because they can get another fight in 4 months. You know, I think the thing with swimming is like if you trash talk and then lose the Olympics, you're like, oh, I'm going to trash talk for the next 4 years.
That's even if you like continue swimming, because like 4 years is huge commitment to do. So
it's massive. I think it's a problem that we need to more aggressively solve. You know, it's something that, you know, thinking about the Olympic trials and stuff like that, you know, you get third in the Olympic trials and you don't make the Olympic team and you're like, all right, reset. I got, you know, the clock's 3 years, 364 days now until I'm back in this spot. But yeah, luckily you've got 2 Olympic gold medals, 2 American records coming back from world championships, even though the medals are a color other than we will mention on the show. You know, at the same time, the deepest field I've ever seen in distance swimming. 2 incredible swims. Appreciate you coming on the show. I don't really know what the show is going to end up looking like. I'm going to, might just put the whole thing out, might chop it up. But if y'all are watching at this point, appreciate y'all for watching. Follow Bobby Finke on all his social medias. And appreciate you coming on, man.
Sweet. Thank you for having me. It was great chatting, as always.
For sure. All right, later, y'all.
Well, look at you, you little swimming nerd. You made it all the way to the end of an hour-long podcast. Congratulations. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far in the podcast, it's pretty clear that you either liked the video so much that you should like the video, or you hated the video so much that you couldn't look away. In either situation, I think it is some form of entertainment for you. So I think that is fair to warrant a like on the video. Comment your thoughts on, I don't know, maybe your favorite section or your favorite thing that Bobby said. Timestamp it so people can click it and go back and rewatch your favorite part. Thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot that you would watch an hour-long video, and you've made it all the way to the point in this video where it's just me talking to the camera. I'm looking to do this with, more swimmers. I'm starting to figure out how to, do editing and figure out how to do like online podcasts. I don't even really want to call them podcasts. I think they're more so just random conversations. But thanks again for watching. Like the video. Drop a comment. If you want more videos like this to pop up on your homepage, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.